Hi everyone, and welcome to another one of our sessions from our Fall in Love series. This time, Fall in Love with PowerApps. My name's Wayne Mugridge, and I'm a Power Platform lead here at WM Reply. What we're going to go through today is we're going to go through a quick overview of all of the products on the Power Platform. So not just PowerApps, because I don't believe we can talk about PowerApps without also including some of the other elements within the Power Platform. If we're going to build a Power App, we'd almost always use one of the other products as well. We're then going to move on to a quick proof of concept demo of a solution that we've built in less than a day, and it's an end-to-end solution. And the reason we're going to show this is really for two reasons. So one, so you can see what you can achieve in a very small amount of time, and it was built in less than a day. We've not tried to do it in a week and cheat and show you a really nice shiny product. And then the other is so you can actually start to see where each of those products are going to fit within a solution when you're thinking of how you could build your solutions yourself. We'll then move on to some real world use cases to hopefully get you thinking about where you could start using PowerApps within your organization right now. And then finally, we'll finish off with a Q&A session. So I'll be able to answer any of your questions that you have. So if in the webinar chat, you should have a Q&A piece, I think, on the right hand side. So please ask the questions as you go, and then we can address those at the end. Okay, so let's get started. We'll move on to our first slide. So the Power Platform, it's got four main products, really, four main components that everyone's normally aware of. And this is Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and then Power Virtual Agents. Power Virtual Agents is the newest member. I think it came into general release at the start of this year. We're not going to discuss that one in too much detail today, but actually what it is a chatbot, basically. Now, all of those four products, they're all user-friendly, all really intuitive to use. They all have that low-code, no-code element to them in one way or another. And they're all that what you see is what you get, the drag-and-drop interface that you can work with. They're all also designed to work seamlessly together, that hopefully you'll see from the demo, but they can be used as standalone products as well. And then what I think is most important is they all provide an option for us to work in a more agile way and turn around solutions a lot more quickly and produce quick proof of concepts, bringing that development time right down. Okay, so the key elements that we're going to talk about today on the next slide are Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI, as I mentioned, but the fourth element I'm going to talk about is the common data service. So I didn't list it as a product, but actually it's very much a key element of the Power Platform. So we're going to have a quick look at each one of these individually before our proof of concept demo. Okay, so if we move on, we will start with our first entry, which is Power Automate. So Power Automate is a workflow solution. It's born from Logic Apps in Azure. So actually Logic Apps in Azure was there, and then they wanted to give that power to the end users and give that logic to the end users to be able to build their own workflow solutions and automate some of their own processes. So it actually uses the same engine as what Logic Apps does. And I say this a lot, it is definitely the unsung hero of the Power Platform. It doesn't get the recognition it deserves a lot of the time because it's in the background, it's doing all of the work in the background. So a user may interact with an app and then actually think the app is getting all the limelight, the app is doing all of the functionality. But normally you've got Power Automate flows in the background that may be integrating with another system. It may be transforming data or doing pieces of automation in the background. In the past, you might have been using kind of Dynamics workflows and then SharePoint workflows, maybe even a competitor as an Intex or such. But actually, Power Automate is here to replace all of those now. And anyone on SharePoint 2010 workflows may be in a little bit of a panic now, trying to get everything moved across to Power Automate before they get decommissioned on the 1st of November. One of the key strengths of Power Automate is definitely the amount of connectors that it has. So it has hundreds of connectors out of the box ready for us to use already. So as you'd expect, you're going to be able to connect to all of the Microsoft products and the Office 365 products that we have on there, but also any of the third-party solutions as well. So there's connectors for Twitter and SurveyMonkey and Facebook, so we can bring that into our automation needs too. So if there isn't a connector, you've got another two options as well. We can actually develop our own custom connectors, and we've got the ability to use a HTTP connector and go in via an API. But what about those solutions where it's a really historic, ancient HR system? It doesn't have an API sat on premise somewhere. Well, now we can start addressing those with Power Automate as well, with the robotic process automation, RPA. So actually it can record our steps of entering information into that HR system sat in a dusty corner somewhere, and we can still integrate with it without needing that API or a standard connector for it. So definitely the unsung hero, doesn't get the recognition. Okay, next up, we have our PowerApps. So the hero product, why we're here today, fall in love with PowerApps. So everyone, I'm presuming, who's watching this webinar or joined live on this webinar is familiar or thinks they know what a Power App is of some kind. But what a lot of people either don't know or maybe even just forget about is that actually under the name Power Apps, you've got 3 different types. So you've got a Canvas app, a model-driven app, and a portal app, all with different use cases and different benefits. Normally, when someone says a Canvas app, the one that they're thinking of, when someone says Power Apps even, the one that they're thinking of is a Canvas app. This is the one that you might have on your phones or your tablets, the kind of pixel perfect. You can have a really nice UI and UX and bring images into it. So that's the Canvas app, but there is 2 other sides. And the way I like to think of it, although any app can be used for any purpose if we've got a good need and use case for it, the way I like to think of it is a Canvas app is that front end, the thing we're going to publish and push to our end users within the business, maybe to submit leave requests or give them a piece of functionality to help them do their day job, scanning in receipts and things like that. And that's the Canvas app. We can make it pixel perfect, really nice UI and UX. The second type of application that we've got is a model-driven app. So it might be a little bit less concerned with the UI and UX and looking pretty, because actually what it's concerned with is the data. It's concerned with the data and then the business process. So any defined steps that we might have to go through a business process in the background. So I like to think of a model-driven app almost as that back end. Canvas apps for your multiple users out in the field. Maybe the model-driven app is the back end for your HR or finance department who need to progress something through. And I'll be showing you both a Canvas app and a model-driven app in that demo. So hopefully that will put it into context where they could be used. The third kind of application we've got is a portal application, very much borrowed from Dynamics portals, if anyone was familiar with those. But the way to think of this is generally for people external to your organization. So maybe someone who doesn't have a login for your business, but you still need to present data to them or even gather data and take that straight into your Office 365 tenant. That's where portal applications can come in. So all 3 of those, they're all that low code and no code approach. It doesn't mean they have to be. You can still use code and develop for them. They've all got a really nice simple user interface, as I said, that drag and drop scenario or when we're building our apps, and they can all incorporate that powerful business logic. But I think the number one takeaway from that is there's 3 kinds of apps on there. Okay, so just moving on, we now have Power BI. So Power BI, it's a reporting tool. It's probably the oldest product, I think, on the Power Platform. So it's had the most updates and the most development with it. Now every organization has a need to report on their data in one way or visualize that data. So some people could be using SQL Server reporting services, maybe a competitor, ClickView or Tableau, or even they might just have an Excel sheet with a pie chart and a couple of graphs in there. There's still that need for them to report on it and to visualize it. Well, Power BI is Microsoft's answer to that. And one of its key strengths, I believe, that puts it at the front of the queue is how it handles the ETL process. So the extract, transform and load process in a really nice, efficient way. So I could connect to maybe this HR system that we have. Then I could connect to any of my Office 365 solutions. Then I could connect it to an on-premise database that I have as well. And I can connect to all of those 3, extracting the data and then doing a transformation of that data. So using Power Query to transform that data and actually maybe transform the format of it, maybe produce new data in that transform process and have that loaded into our visualization layer then using the visuals that we've got within Power BI. All of the time, we can put that on a set schedule. So it will actually just constantly refresh and do that data transformation for us in the background, allowing you to always see up-to-date reporting. as well as the kind of the key normal charts that you might like to see, where you've got your pie charts and your bar charts and your line charts. A benefit of Power BI is its marketplace. So actually, if you want to see your visualizations or see your data visualized in a certain way, we've got a marketplace for anything that's not met by the out-the-box charts. This is produced by professional developers who publish there, people who are doing it as a hobby. But what you find is if one of the out-the-box charts isn't going to meet your needs, there's normally something in the marketplace as well. As with the rest of the Power Platform, lots of connectors, making it really easy to connect to all those different data sources that I've just gone through. Okay, and then last up, what we have is the Common Data Service. So the Common Data Service essentially is a database, but it's so much more than that as well. Included within this database, we have integrated security. So we've got really comprehensive security that actually goes down to a field level. So we can tell people what they can see, what they can't see, right down to that field level. It's got automatic backups. So actually, we don't need to think too much about the backups. Midnight every night, Microsoft will take that backup. And if we want to restore, we're a couple of clicks away and we can restore to a previous backup. It's got lots of built-in auditing capabilities, so we can turn on audit for our different tables and then see who's amending what data and when they're amending it. And all of that is packaged in a nice sort of graphical user interface for us to be able to create this. So we don't really need a great deal of database knowledge. We don't need to know any scripting or SQL scripts. If we want to create a table, we click a button, create a table. If we want to create a new field within that table, we click a button, choose the data type and create that table. And I'll show you that in the demo as well. Now, last up, I can't really talk about the Common Data Service without at least mentioning Project Oakdale. So it was announced really a couple of months or so ago, and it's kind of been pushed out into general availability, or in the process of doing that now. And what Project Oakdale is it's a lighter version of the Common Data Service, and it's available for us to build our apps within Teams. And so it doesn't have the kind of full integrated security that Common Data Service has. It's a bit of a lighter version, but it still is a relational database. It's still that same platform. And the really nice and exciting thing about it is that it's available to most of us already as part of our Office 365 licenses. So if you've got an E3 license, you're going to have access to use Project Oakdale. And that's going to allow us to maybe stop thinking about trying to force things into SharePoint and build relational databases with SharePoint lists, where maybe it doesn't work as well as it could. And actually, we'll be able to use a true relational database when we're building those applications. So I think it's a really exciting announcement. We're going to see lots of nice apps built on that. Okay, so that's kind of all of the products. What I do want to move on to now is an onboarding solution demo. And as I highlighted at the start, it's something that was built in less today. It's definitely not a shiny product, but we'll go through it from end to end. So I'm just going to share my screen and quickly hand over to Will while I do that.
Thanks, Wayne. While he gets the onboarding solution up and running, I wanted to give everyone a quick reminder that our Q&A is live, so feel free to post your questions and Wayne will answer them at the end. Back over to Wayne.
Brilliant, thanks, Will. So everyone, hopefully you can all see my screen. And as I say, this is an onboarding solution. So I'm going to start right at the very start. I'm a manager, I'm out in the field somewhere doing my day job, and I've just conducted an interview for a new member to my team. I really liked them, they ticked all the boxes, so I want to employ that person. So what I could do is I can come to my Power App, and this is that Canvas app. So I'm out in the field, I'm one of the many, I'm one of the masses. I can come to my Canvas app, but it could be pixel perfect, it's got nice imagery on it, nice UI and UX, and I've got access to all of my key things that I might want. Definitely want to submit leave requests, expenses, but the key thing I want to do today is I want to actually notify HR that I've got a new employee that I want to start with the company. So I can go ahead and click on new employee. Now I come to a very basic form for this demo. So in real life, I'm sure there'll be lots more fields, maybe a little bit more logic to it as well, but I'm going to fill in my basic fields with my employee's name for any Liverpool fans there, Jack Grealish. Also going to select maybe who his line manager is, what office they're starting at, and then maybe what level, what job title they are. So level 4 senior manager. Nice simple form. and click on next. Okay, my next screen is going to say, do I need to order them any equipment? Okay, maybe I want to order them a laptop, but I want them just to be assigned a standard phone, anything that we've got in stock. So I'll just select laptop, yes. And I click on save. So now as the hiring manager, the person in the field, effectively that kind of could be my job done. Maybe I do want something where I can come in and actually check the progress on my direct reports on a screen similar to this that's just loading. Maybe I want to go through and actually check the progress of where they're at. But really my job's done. I've submitted that to HR now, and it's on someone else's hands to start that onboarding process and actually onboard them. So once they've submitted the form, what's happened to that? Where has that data gone? Well, it's actually gone into our database, our CDS, the Common Data Service. And this is where we access the CDS. It's actually in the standard PowerApps Maker portal, but it's under the data tab on the left-hand side. So as you can see, I've got entities highlighted at the moment. Now, if we can just think of an entity as a table in a database, this is a list of all the different tables that I have within my database. If I want to create a new table, I can just click on New Entity, give it a name, click on Done, and that's it. What I want to do for the demo is I want to go to our New Starter Onboarding table. And you can see it's just loading up now. Here is a list of all of the different fields that I've got within my New Starter table. So if I want to add a new field, I click on New Field, give it a name, select its data type, and that's it. So really nice and easy to be able to build out these databases. What I want to do is just click on our data. I can see all of the data within this table, and if I go right to the bottom, I can see here is that record that I've just submitted as that hiring manager, Jack Grealish, Senior Manager. Okay, so I've submitted it. It's been stored in a database. But now I'm going to take my hiring manager hat off, and I'm sat in HR now. I'm somebody who's in HR, and it's my responsibility to actually onboard that person. Maybe there's a number of steps, such as creating a contract and getting that signed and booking inductions. There's all these steps that I need to do. So I need a way to help me manage that. And that's where the second kind of application comes in. This is that model-driven app, the one that I said is more concerned with the data and the business process, and maybe a little bit less concerned with being pixel perfect. So I've just started, there's lots of capabilities here. I won't have time to touch on them all, but it does have that concept of dashboard. So some basic dashboards and charts that maybe is going to allow me to see as my start or be my starting point of my day. I can see what's going on, where new starters and what dates they're going to be starting on, and some quick charts. Maybe I can see what different tasks are due and when they're due and who the tasks are assigned to. I can see all of my outstanding tasks. So I've got lots of inductions to book, a timeline of those, and then maybe quick access to all of the new starters that are currently going through that onboarding process that I'm responsible for. So we can build as many of these as we want, these little quick view dashboards. But what we can also do is we can go direct to the data, and I can see everything that's within that new starter table. Now, very similar to SharePoint and Excel, we've got the standard things we would expect. We are able to sort them and filter them. We have got some really comprehensive search facilities that we can set up, including advanced filtering and advanced find, where we can really start to build out the logic and do some advanced searching. And then we've also got the access to views. So again, a little bit like SharePoint, where we can create views that show different columns and different orders and apply different filters for quick access. So I can see all of my employees that haven't had the contract signed yet, made a click of a button. But most of the functionality is going to be, or most of my work is going to be conducted within the record itself. So if I scroll to the bottom, I can see here's my new starter, Jack Grealish. If I click on them, it loads up my forms. Now, all of this forms is configurable, so we can drag and drop where the fields are and the layout. But there's two key elements to this. So everything below that process you can see going across the top, everything below that is a form which we can move around, and then this at the top itself is a business process flow, or BPF you might hear people call it. So just concentrate on the bottom section to start with. You can see here's all of the information that's been submitted from the form. Here's all my core details, and I've ordered a laptop. I then have these, which are tabs. And again, you can have as many or as few tabs as you want to fit your needs. So as I go across, I've got some onboarding checks, so some information that I need to enter to confirm start dates and book inductions. I've created a tab to hold all of my tasks that are relating to this new starter. So actually in the background of this demo, this task has been created automatically by Power Automate. So the new starter has been created, Power Automate has kicked in and said, right, you're going to need to book him an induction, and it's created a task and assigned it for me to be able to do that. I've also given myself a tab for me to be able to order some equipment if I need, and maybe store some documents such as contracts and things. So that's the form element of it. The piece across the top is the business process, and this just as a highlight as part of the demo, I've put some standard tasks that you might associate with onboarding someone. So maybe initially what I want to do is just come and check through their details. Then I might need to actually send an offer out and receive a signed contract. Then maybe I've got a HR system somewhere that actually have to go and generate this employee in. Maybe in a real world scenario, we could look at Power Automate to go and create that employee within that HR system. Then have I ordered them any equipment, and then finally they're onboarded and everything's complete. So just to kind of progress this through relatively quickly and as if I was doing this in real life. First thing, I just want to check all the details. So all the details look correct. Yes, I'm going to approve and say that's done and click on to the next stage. I've set this up here to not allow me to just change this to yes and say that I've sent the offer. Actually, what I want to do is it to almost prove that I've sent the offer. And for the purpose of the demo, it's just looking at these key fields here to ensure that they've got information within them. But maybe again in a real life scenario, what I have is Power Automate that's automatically sending the contract, or when a contract is received back in, it can automatically come in here and input those dates if these fields were locked. And what that's going to do then is that's going to allow me to progress through. And for the speed of demo, I'm just going to say, yes, everything's been generated in the HR system. And then at the end, I've got a little reminder to say, stop, have you ordered their equipment? Okay, no, I haven't. So let me go and have a look. Yes, they wanted a laptop. That's all they actually need ordering. So I can go to my equipment tab. Yes, I needed to order some equipment. I just need to order one item. What would that item be? So maybe I want to order them a Surface Book laptop. Okay. So I've ordered them a Surface Book, but maybe I'm also using this whole application for my asset management. So they also need a phone, but I just don't need to order it. So what I can do is say, okay, yeah, add some existing equipment. I can search my asset database and say, yeah, I want to assign this phone to this user, which means that that phone is now no longer available to any other user because it's assigned to him. It's assigned to Jack Grealish. So I can go back here and say, yes, I've ordered my equipment. Again, Power Automate in the background could be doing this. It could be pushing it through to IT to order, or even straight to our vendor, straight to wherever we order our equipment through. So I'm just going to say, yes, I've done that, move to the next stage, and then finalize my tasks. If I went and completed my tasks, and then that person would be onboarded. Okay, so from the HR's perspective now, I've gone through that process in about 2 minutes there. In real life, maybe a few weeks. My job is done for that starter. They're actually onboarded who might have started with the company. But if I take my HR hat off and now put on my senior leader hat, what I want to do is I want to see all of my new starters, what's going on around my business, around the world, all the different offices. I don't necessarily want to have to come into this application and start filtering by which office I'm concerned with. I want that higher level, broader view of everything. So what I can do is I could have a Power BI report. So again, quite a quick, simple Power BI report, but hopefully you can see that I can have a look of everything that's going on. So I can see I've got 9 new starters, 2 leavers. I can see what level they are. So actually kind of what job role and what level they might be, which offices the starters and leavers are, where they are around the world on a map. And all of these charts, they're all kind of interactive. So if I wanted to look at those level 5 employees, I can see we've got 3 employees who are going to be level 5. 2 of them were starting in August. Obviously the date is a little out of date. 1 was starting in July, and I can see which offices they might be at as well, Amsterdam and Belarus. So all of these apply filters to all of the different charts as we go. What I also might want to do if I wanted to set it up is I could perform drill down into that data or even drill through. So if I want to see some more details on those level 5 starters, I can drill through and see the underlying data, the actual raw data underneath it if I want, the way I've set this up. And that's all without ever having to go into the same application that HR is using. In this scenario, what it also might do, it might highlight the fact of if I have more levers and starters in one of the offices. So maybe in Chester, I've got more levers than I have starters. Maybe I want to actually investigate, well, why is that? Why have we got so many levers in this office? Or even focus my recruitment efforts to that office. Hopefully having some Power BI dashboards in place is really going to allow me to see that and identify those issues. So that's the demo, but just to quickly recap, we have the Canvas app, pixel perfect, aimed at the many. Any manager out in the field, they all have access to this Canvas app. I can submit my new employees. I then have a database to store all of those new employees in the CDS, the Common Data Service. I've got a model-driven application to allow HR to then progress that person through and order the equipment and book their inductions. And then finally, I've got the Power BI report that allows the senior leadership to actually see what's going on all throughout their business really nice and easily, and export that into nice PowerPoints if needed. Okay, so that's the end of the demo. What I am going to do is jump back into the slides at the moment now. So what I want to do on the next slides is just recap a little bit about what we've just spoke about, and then move on to the use cases that we might have. So just to reiterate that everything that was shown there was low code and no code, and actually the demo was done with no code at all, but it doesn't mean it has to be. We actually have we can extend it professionally with real code. We've got now Power Component Frameworks, PCF components that we can build using TypeScript that can really sort of plug any gaps or really flush out some of those interfaces that we might want. We've also got, it's all drag and drop, so it's all WYSIWYG. Everything that we've done there has all got that drag and drop interface, and it is collaborative in that we can work on different elements of an entire solution together. But I think more importantly is it breaks down those barriers maybe between your key stakeholders and then the development team or anyone who is building an app. Maybe traditionally, if you were building something and a stakeholder wanted to change something, you would have to then go away, go to IT or the developers, get that changed, and then come back a couple of days later to check how it looks or how it works. Right now, you don't need to with the Power Platform. What it means is that you can do that live on the call with them or in the meeting. If they want to move something around, you can drag it around and you can actually see it and bring them into that build process with you. So what I want to move on to now is some real potential scenarios and use cases. So as you can see from the slide on the screen, there's lots and lots of different use cases that we can use for this. We have seen lots of onboarding. We've seen lots and lots around request management, maybe looking at complaints and knowledge management or tender processing, lots of leave requests, as I said. Now, any of these solutions that we wanted to build or problems that we wanted to solve traditionally would have had to go to IT or would have had to go to a third party to build something completely custom for us. Well, with the simplicity of the Power Platform, we don't need to now. So we can empower the users to look at building some of these solutions themselves. And even if we do need to get some professional help with it, it reduces that cost and the turnaround, the time turnaround that would normally be a blocker for us to even looking at these solutions in the past. Now, if any of you are from IT, normally that kind of sometimes scares people when we say we're opening this up to users to build their own solutions. Some people remember issues with access databases in the past. But what we say to that is actually there is a really nice governance model and lots of tools that we can help to set up that governance model if we require it, and actually that it's already being done within your business. So even without the Power Platform, people are building Excel workarounds all over the place. I don't know any organizations that haven't got Excels that different departments are using, and those Excels just sat on a laptop somewhere, sat on a server somewhere. They've got duplicated data and there's kind of no central place for those. So moving it onto the Power Platform does centralize it. It allows you to share that data, and it gives you that little bit of governance that you might want. And I will touch on the governance piece a little bit more right at the end. So then just to move on and quickly give you some kind of real case user scenarios. So much like the onboarding scenario, I've got a scenario here for something that's really, really quite complex, and it's got lots of elements to it. And it's an analysis solution, a forensic analysis solution. So the person who this was built for was using one of those completely custom third-party systems. wasn't fit for purpose, was really, really expensive, lots of Excels, as we said. So what we built them is a solution on the Power Platform that's got that front end and back end that I was trying to explain in the onboarding. So what you can see here is we've got this front end piece for somebody, anyone around the world, to be able to submit something, a request for something to be analysed. And that's done with Azure Forms and Canvas app forms, and it allows them to submit that through to the forensic team. And then if we just move on to the next slide, what we have is that back end piece now. So when that person submitted this request, we've got that lab team, the forensic team, who actually need to progress it through, conduct that analysis. You can see the model driven app and the second screenshot at the back there with the orange business process across the top, allowing them to gather that data and do that piece of analysis. And then the final piece is Power BI. So not only giving Power BI to the laboratory who are doing the analysis to allow them to gain really deep insights to the data and the results, but allowing those end users who submitted the request, allowing them to track the progress of their request. So not having to pick up the phone constantly or send emails saying, have you finished yet, where it is. They can just go into Power BI and see that progress themselves. So from something really kind of complex and actually really large projects to some more quicker wins that we can get actually, and a lot of simple things that maybe most of us could use in the business on the next few slides. So if we move on to the next one, we have a travel request. So maybe there's lots of needs for different travel requests and maybe expenses that go with those travel requests. This solution here was to get pre-approval for kind of flights and hotels and quotes that you might have. The next example that we have is employee performance. So a really nice one, this, of changing up how employee performance is judged at the end of the year. So it does incorporate that end of year evaluation, but also incorporates continued feedback and rating throughout the year. And the new phase is actually going to be including Power BI in this as well. So handling that overall employee performance and goal setting process. The next example we have is a change request. So again, most organizations have some kind of change request that they need to go through, whether that's approval for new software or new hardware. We have something that needs to be looked at into that whole process. Next example we have is maybe accidents and near misses. This is an events company who need to record any accidents from the public or near misses so they can be prioritized and highlighted. Traditionally, I think this one was using paper forms and Excel forms. Now it can be centralized and go straight through to the correct team. So hopefully those few quick examples that I've skipped through, but the one thing that you should notice on all of those, just to kind of hammer this home, is every single one of those had Power Automate listed against it. So they've all got Power Automate, whether they've got Canvas apps or model driven apps, they've all got Power Automate in them as well. Okay, so the final piece I want to speak about is just the kind of COE and governance. So if we go on to the next slide, what I want to show you is that if governance is concerning you a little bit, or you think it's a blocker to start using the Power Platform, is that actually there's some predefined steps and tasks that we can take to help set up that governance model. And these are in line with Microsoft. This is in line with what Microsoft suggests for us to go through. So not only governance, but we can, which is data loss prevention, maybe setting up of environments and using some of the tools there to help us keep an eye on what's going on the Power Platform. But also that training, support and nurturing. So we're going to get a return of investment when people are building their own apps. When people are building their own apps, that's when you're going to get a good return on your investment to Microsoft and Office 365. So helping them, training them, nurturing them, giving them support and allowing them to do that in a nice, safe, controlled environment. The one thing I would say on this is that you absolutely do not need to have all of this set in place and go through all of these steps to start using the Power Platform. It's just to highlight that don't let governance or being a little bit scared of the Power Platform, don't let that be a blocker to you to start using it, because there is set processes that has been completed by lots of other organizations now that can help. And along with that, we've also got tools that can help as well, which the next slide will highlight. So on this next slide, what we have is a Center of Excellence starter kit. This is provided by Microsoft, but it's open source, so it's not supported by Microsoft, and it's very much intended, as the name suggests, as that starter kit. So we can look at it, amend it, and build upon it for it to fit our organization. But the really, really nice thing with this is that I think there's around 20 different tools, 20 or 30 different tools. Every single one of these tools is built on the Power Platform, and it's going to help us administer and support the Power Platform. So you've got some really nice things you can see on the screen there. We've got Power BI reports that's going to help us see what's going on in all of our environments, who's building apps, what apps they're building, and where they're building them. We've got Canvas apps to help maybe set up data loss prevention policies, giving us an app catalog so we can list all of our apps that are available to the end users in a really nice way. And then model-driven apps to help with kind of administration and consistency and getting things developed in the correct way. Not part of the starter kit, but also very quickly worth mentioning, we've got lots of the professional development tools available to us now as well. So we can start using Azure DevOps to allow us to pipeline our different apps through to development environments, test environments, and then even production environments. And this is ever changing, so we're getting more and more of these tools all the time. So definitely recommend the kind of Center of Excellence starter kit. And then just the last slide to kind of tie up now. Hopefully you've seen lots of potential scenarios, and it's really got you thinking about where you can use some of these or getting some real use cases from your business. But the two main benefits, I believe, are those cost savings and that speed of build that you can get. And hopefully those really impressive numbers from the Forrester report on the screen at the moment there, hopefully they kind of highlight that as well. And that's it. So just before we do move on to the questions, I just want to go on to the next slide and give our contact details if you do have any sort of further questions on not just the Power Platform, but also Office 365. We've got expertise in SharePoint and Yammer and the full suite of Office. Myself there, WM Mugridge. We've also got our managing partner, Richard Ackerman, who's based from the US side in our Chicago office. So if you reach out to us, we can answer any questions. If we can't answer directly any questions, we can 100% point you in the right direction, or another member of our team who can. Okay, so I think that's it. We can follow up if there is any questions.
Yeah, Wayne, we had several questions that came up during our session. The first is from Sam. Regarding the onboarding solution demo, does that new starter data go into a Microsoft list? Is that what is in the common data service? And kind of a 2-for-1 here. He also asked, can you push that information into SharePoint from the CDS?
Yeah, so for the first part of the question, no, it's not the same as a Microsoft list. The Microsoft list actually does kind of use SharePoint as its storage, I believe. The Common Data Service is a full, true database. It is the database that Microsoft Dynamics has used for years. It is that true relational database, so it's not the same as a Microsoft list. And yes, you can push that through to SharePoint. We could use Power Automate maybe to push anything that we need through into SharePoint for information purposes, or to give people maybe a little view or an integration with something that's built on top of SharePoint.
Awesome. Our next question is, what is the benefit of a Power App versus an out-of-the-box app / tool from a third party?
Okay, so I think the benefit with a Power App is that you can learn and pick up this pretty easily. So actually, if you have a change of requirement in 6 months' time, if you had something that was built completely bespoke by a third party, you're tied to that third party forever. You need a change, you have to go to them. You're tied to the turnaround and maybe also the cost implications. So one is you've got the power to be able to do these amendments yourselves and actually start learning and build these solutions yourself. The second is we're not going to have 20 or 30 different third-party solutions that we're paying for all over the place. If we've built everything on the Power Platform, we've got one platform, the Power Platform, and that's where lots of our solutions can fit. So we're not going to have disparate systems and third-party vendors everywhere that we need.
Awesome. Our next question is, can I make a model-driven app look like a Canvas app, or at least change the interface so it looks more user-friendly?
Yes and no. So we can't make the entire model-driven app look like a Canvas app, but what works really well on the Power Platform is what we can do is we can embed different solutions in each other. So a couple of options for making it look a little bit better or more user-friendly. We could professionally develop for it, but actually a nicer approach, and probably one I'd recommend to start looking at, is maybe embedding a Canvas application within that model-driven app. So where we had the form at the bottom, all of that form area, we can embed Canvas apps in there. We can embed Power BI reports in there, and vice versa too. So actually within our Canvas app, we can embed Power BI, or we could embed a Canvas app within Power BI. You can embed them all within each other and really start building out that nice user interface and kind of plug in any functionality gaps that you might have at all.
Okay, awesome. One of our next questions is, can we get a feel for integrations outside of Microsoft Suite and social media platforms? What about Oracle, SAP, Workday, Salesforce, enterprise solutions that run core functions at large organizations?
Yeah, so again, you've got lots of different integration options with that. Probably too many to go into lots of detail here. I'll try and list a couple off at a high level. So you have got Power Automate or Logic Apps or something similar that does have connectors. So there is connectors for kind of SAP and competitors and Salesforce. We've got those connectors in place. So there's nothing stopping us being able to use Power Automate to push data into those. All of these big third-party solutions and competitors as well, they all have APIs. So actually we could look at doing some true development integration if we needed on top of the Power Platform. So Power Platform's got really nice APIs. Things like Salesforce and Oracle solutions normally got really nice APIs, so we can do that development that way. The third option is probably having that kind of almost that staging database or those reporting databases. So we could be pushing our data into Azure and handling the integration that way of bringing things into a central database.
Okay, although there were many excellent questions, unfortunately, we only have time for one last question. We will be answering all of the other questions in a follow-up email via the email address that you signed up for this webinar with. So please be on the lookout for that. But our last question is, can you embed a Power BI report into a portal app?
Yes, and there's a quick answer. Yeah, portal applications are really comprehensive, and actually you can do a lot with HTML and you can use iframes and things like that. The one thing I would say though, although it's technically capable, is what you would need within Power BI is you would either need the person who's going to view that report to have access to the Power BI in your organization anyway, or you can actually publish Power BI out there to the internet. So you can actually publish it and say, we don't mind who sees it. And then when you actually, when you've embedded it into your portal, it means that it's going to be available to your users. So hopefully that's clear. So yes, you can, but you've got two options within Power BI. One, you give them access to Power BI, so they'd more than likely need to be a guest in your tenant. Or two, the data that you're showing in Power BI is not sensitive, so you're happy to publish it open out onto the internet, and then you can just display it into your portal that way. I hope that answers your question. Thanks very, very much, everyone. As Will said, we'll respond to any questions that we didn't get round to, and please feel free to reach out to us all again. Thanks for joining.